Well, good morning or good evening, whoever. I'm making this video because I spent August 9th through 13th, 2019 out at the Bigfoot 200 mile endurance run doing amateur radio support for the event, and a lot of people don't even know what that's all about. If you go out to BigFoot200.com, you can learn that there's a bunch of stuff. It's interesting to learn about. It's one of three things. It's a Triple Crown event, so there's two other 200-mile events. But during this 200-mile event, you can also compete at a 100K, 40-mile, and a 20-mile event. Okay, and they've got some facts and stuff. There's no map of the race course here because I'm not sure why there's no map. I'll show you one in a second. 42,000 plus feet of ascent and more than 86,000 feet of elevation change. 206.5 miles, non-stop point to point, 6 sleep stations, 14 full aid stations, hot food medical. I was at one of those. 2 of those, actually. Race starts at Mount St. Helens in the Cascade Mountain Range. That's BigFoot200 National Forest. Ends in Randall, Washington. And there's the date. Here's the elevation gain loss thing here. These are the aid stations. I helped at Blue Lake in the beginning, and then I had a day or so to run over to Council Bluff, okay? But you can see up, down, nearly 6,000 feet total, and we start off pretty high, but we end up down at about 1,000 feet of elevation down at Randall. So I go to Blue Lake, and then I go to Council Bluff. And there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 aid stations after that, and then it's over. I'm saying this because later in the video I say some things that are kind of like I'm not sure of this. So at 131 miles at Council Bluff, it's only, less than 10 miles to the next one, but it's 140 to 158, it's 18 miles to the next one, right? 18? Did I get that right? Yeah, 18 miles. Oh, a little less than 18. So it's not an even 10 miles between aid stations. So anyway, enough said about that. Let's go to the map. Okay, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see, oh, okay, there's Olympia there. There's Portland down there, okay? And if we zoom in on the BigFoot200 National Forest, you see this is Randall up here. Mount St. Helens is here. Okay, let's turn on the satellite view here. And we can tilt it a little bit. And you get an idea of where things are. We're going to run around Mount St. Helens here. We're going to go to all these various aid stations. These are aid stations along the way. We get down into the valley with the road that goes through the middle of it, and then we come up on the other side. We go along this ridge valley, along this river, and eventually we get in here to Council Bluff. This is where I was. So you got Council Lake there. That's Council Lake, and Council Bluff was the aid station I was at. So there's a little bit of an understanding. There's Mount Adams, okay, and yeah, these 2 blue spots are where there are radios mounted operating off of solar charge and batteries, because there's not a lot out there if you've ever been out there. So anyway, on with the video. Hi there. It is 8/11 on 2019, and I'm at the Council Bluff aid station at mile 131 of a 200-mile race. You see that there? There's Baja there. Distance to the next is almost 10 miles. That's called Chain of Lakes. Not too far from Walloped Lake, but probably 5-7 miles. So it's a trail running event, and this is a really good example of a very nice aid station. First off,
Here's where they leave the aid station. You can see there's a chain of Christmas lights helping them figure out where the path is. You can see the path is not very well marked right here. So when it's wet, your knees are getting all wet and stuff. The trail's marked pretty well because after you've been running for 3 days, your brain gets a little foggy. You got these little clips on the trees to help you figure out your way. And this is an aid station in a relatively limited space. So the support vehicles for each runner are not allowed here. There's where a bunch of them are. A couple of runners are relaxing, possibly taking a little food, putting on various chemicals for chafing and rolling out muscles with rolling tool. And I'm just learning so much about what runners can do. There in the red jacket is the aid captain. If he says something to us, we might be honored with his opinions and such. Here's family and support personnel. The blonde just came, supporting the runner that just came in. It's a fire pit that won't work because it's rained last night and the night before. And search and replace, search and rescue people. This is the first aid tent, set up like a hospital with some very nice lighting and beds and first aid supplies. This is a tarp covering a tarp with drop bags. What this means is these are people who have dropped running equipment for their people. So Tom Roger, you know, so you're seeing all these names, right? These are for people to come and pick up in lieu of actually having a person here. More aid vehicles, more ham radio guys. Yeah, so let's look at this great kitchen.
No. Why are you wet? That's a crap job.
I'm making this here video for my wife and other people who don't know. This is the aid captain. He set up this extremely nice setup with all the lights. And well, look, we even have our own chef here. Check this out, an actual chef. And there's just all kinds of stuff here to eat, almost to order, depending on what his supplies are. Very nice kitchen setup he's got over here, considering we're out in the middle of nowhere. And 3K generator over there. Speakers for, you know, if you want loud music. Loaded with supplies. People are coming up with supplies all the time. And once again, the waiting or the resting and, you know, incoming area, the people are coming in down that road. Their support vehicles are only allowed to park a quarter of a mile down that road, and they have to walk in because it's so crowded down here. I walked down there a little while ago, and there was 6 or 8 cars already there, which you can tell would not fit in this area here. So let's move on to the search and replace guys. No, it's search and rescue.
Search and rescue.
Yeah. These search and rescue guys are very good and very nice, primarily because they speak our language. They're very good with amateur radio. The man driving this Jeep here is senior leadership and is just very knowledgeable. That fellow you just met there is driving that big four-wheel drive pickup back there. We are using one of those masts that you get. Can you see that with the 6-meter antenna and a long wire coming off of it? One of those military mast kits. And there's my outfit there with the best part of this whole trip. A really nice bed. Oh my goodness, it's so nice. And an old all-wheel drive van. So our radio guys, John and Scott.
Good. Yeah, we ordered 2.
You know what happened?
One was good, but we ordered 2.
No. We're on tape.
Yeah, don't say that stuff. Okay. Scott is on the right, John is on the left. I'm making this video so that somebody knows what the heck did you do? And there's all that
We made a mess of the table surface.
geeky, yeah, radio stuff that we do. Wow, it really looks particularly geeky right now too, let me tell you.
More radios, more
Yeah,
antennas.
just all kinds of stuff. Yeah, we're having fun. I mean, around here,
Be sure to get the puddle of water next to the power supply.
puddle or water, you know, right? Look at that.
Well, it's actually
It's
in
great.
the- in
Lots
We're
of
the,
geeky
in
stuff
the
going
puddle.
on here.
we're the
Get
safest.
the 2 dogs.
The dog's in every shot. Okay, there's Scott's rig loaded to the gills. There's our 2-meter antenna, which we just recently figured out that a couple of us are totally screwed around. We thought north was 180 degrees from where it was. And you're thinking, what? How can you do that? You come driving in here yourself and you tell me if you know where north is. So, there we go. A lot of twisting and turning around while you're trying to not fall in a pothole big enough for your whole vehicle. And so there you go. There is a little background on where I have spent the 4-day long weekend. There are several of these sites. If you come early, you get to come to one of these sites. All the runners go through. You close down the site and then you drive over here. This is my second one. There won't be time in the race for me to go to a third because there's only 3 or 4 of these. Well, you're at 130 miles of a 200-mile race, so there's not too many stops left at 8 to 10 miles in between. So there you go. That fella there with the orange hat, you can't see him. He's the search and rescue leadership dude. Always got a couple of dogs. There's dog number 3.
What time you guys close?
5:30 tomorrow morning is the official shut time, so we'll see.
I'm making this video so my wife knows what I was doing. So this is our senior search and rescue guy who's very knowledgeable in many areas, and it's good to have him here. And this guy here represents the reason we're here. Having one of those delicious, fresh-made, hot breakfast burritos. Glad you made it 120. And that's the end of this video.